Hello and good morning, or good evening, good afternoon, good night, depending on the time you are viewing this video. In the last video, I was trying to explain the current VAT regime and the distribution model. In this video, I would like to talk about the proposed tax distribution. And the proposed tax distribution goes like this. They use different formula whereby they have 60, 20, 20 as explained by Mr. Tayo, the presidential chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms. He said 60 will go for derivation, 20 for population, that is another 20 for equality, meaning that the equal distribution will be 20% now. Instead of 50% that will be shared to all states equally, is now going to be 20% out of the total revenue that is allocated for states. And the one that will be shared based on population will be 20% instead of 30%, in the current tax distribution. And the one that will be shared based on derivation will now be 60%, in the proposed bill instead of 20% as it's being used currently. So the problem now will be like this. If 60% out of the total amount that will be shared to state will go for derivation, meaning that the state that consume goods and services produced in the country high will have high VAT. And when we look at the consumption pattern in Nigeria based on zones, you will understand that Southwest has the highest consumption pattern, the Northeast has the lowest. That is why I said in my first video that northern states do not have higher consumption pattern. You can see from this chart that I have, and you can judge it by yourself before I explain. Okay, let me do the explanation now. What we have here in the Northeast, consumption pattern of Northeast on food expenditure is 6.96, and on non-food expenditure is 5.07. The pattern is different for every other zones, and for Southwest is under food expenditure is 27.14, and under non-food expenditure is 33.63, and it goes like this differently for other zones. But the zone that has the highest consumption pattern for food and non-food expenditure is Southwest. So the explanation is this: the Northeast zone that has the lowest total consumption percentage, indicating minimal spending on food and non-food items. In the proposed VAT distribution model, revenue is allocated based on consumption at the point of derivation. This means regions with higher consumption will receive more VAT revenue, while regions like Northeast with lower consumption spending will receive significantly less. So under the proposed reform, the Northeast share will be disproportionately small compared to its developmental needs. That deepens the existing inequalities, and conversely, the West or the Southwest with the highest consumption will receive much larger share, and you can say that widening the gap between industrialized and less industrialized regions. But to cushion this problem, still the chairman of the Presidential Committee for Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, Mr. Tayo, he said that there's a proposal for federal government to take only 10% out of its 15% share, and the remaining 5% will be left as fiscal equalization fund, whereby the states that will receive less amount as a result of the adoption of the proposed tax bill will now have something from that 5% to equate the amount, or to make it better off, or to make it as if if it is the current tax regime that is being followed, the amount the state will collect will not be different from that one. So the question here is, will that 5% that will be left for the states to share balance the actual gap that will be left between 60% derivation that is proposed with the 20% derivation that is currently being used, or will that balance the problem between the 30% that is for population and the 20% for population currently proposed, or maybe the one that state government shared equally, that is the proportion of 50% of the total amount to be shared equally, that is in the current one, and the proposed one says that only 20% that will be shared equally. So we don't actually know this, unless we probably give some mathematical or accounting explanation, whereby a figure will just be hypothetically given, and the tax distribution pattern or consumption distribution pattern as reported by National Bureau of Statistics 2019, be used as a hypothetical example, and also maybe an hypothetical population percentage will also be given, so that we know at the end of the calculation how much will each state receive and how much will be the gap that will be left unfilled when using the proposed bill. And probably in my next video I will try to explain that. Thank you.